when WCW goes under, you're not able to buy it. We know the story. If the shoe was on the other foot and WCW had bought WWF and you're in charge, do you think that you would have utilized that property or not?
Yeah, I would have. Probably not unlike Vince McMahon did, is I would have just used it to just prove the fact that we were better than them and we beat them. And honestly, I don't know if this is going to be a follow-up question. I probably wouldn't have brought Vince McMahon in. That idea would not have occurred to me. But would I have utilized their footage and the history and the backstory and the war and how we beat them? Would I have produced my own WCW Monday Night War videos and made myself look like the smartest in the world? Sure.
It's interesting that when you were with WB for the GM run, there was various points where you would be on these panel shows, or you did the book, you did the DVDs, and you knew that they were going to paint the history the way they were going to. How did you feel about that? Did you just kind of accept it? Did it ever annoy you?
I didn't care, because if they're going to put a microphone in my hand and ask me questions, I'm going to have my opportunity to tell my story and give people my perspective, and then it's up to the fans. Yes, I knew it was going to be tilted. I knew there was going to be revisionist history. But I also knew that there's going to be a camera. There's going to be a red light on that camera. And I'm going to have a microphone. And I'm going to be able to share my side of the story. And then I just let the audience decide what they want to believe.
Did you find it easy to do a panel show with Michael Hayes, basically telling you how great WWF was and how bad WCW was?
I like Michael a lot. I have a ton of respect for Michael. We've become friends. But at that time, he was very resentful of me, and he was drunk as I'm not kidding. Jim Ross was right there with him. But we sat down, and there was like a bottle of vodka under the table. And on one side of the table, and there was scotch on the other side of the table. And that thing took about 4 or 5 hours to shoot. By the time we were halfway through it, Michael was hammered. Go back and watch it. If you can't tell that Michael Hayes was hammered and angry and resentful and wanted to just beat me into the ground, then maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you'll see that.
You've talked about how when WCW ended, it was like a relationship ended. So that was it. It was done. And then in 2002, you decided to go and work for WWE. I mean, how do you go from this is over, it's not going to happen, to I'm going to go and work for the people that I have slated vociferously for years? Enough
time had gone. I did. As you pointed out, once the WCW thing fell apart and I wasn't going to be able to purchase it, I made up my mind that wrestling is now in my rearview mirror. I need to reinvent myself. I'm going to pursue other things. And I did, and I was successful doing it. I was producing independent television and doing – I was actually making more money outside of wrestling than I ever made in wrestling, to be honest about it. So I didn't need wrestling. I had divorced myself from it emotionally, and I was fine. But like a year went by or so, and I got a call from Vince McMahon. And it was a very great conversation. Vince said something to the effect of, hey, it's not verbatim, I'm just trying to characterize it. He said, hey, Eric, I would like to think if WCW would have come out on top, things would have been differently, that you would at least reach out to me and give me an opportunity to come and work for you. But, I'm in. It was such a gracious, kind, and I think sincere thing for Vince to say. It just made a huge impression on me. And I went, In my mind, I'm thinking, if I do this, if I go back and I go to work for WWE as a talent, and this is going to sound arrogant and cocky and conceited, and it is, but I was really good as a character. And I knew I had a lot of confidence in my ability to perform on camera. And Vince didn't want me to come into management. He didn't want me to come into creative. He just wanted me to come in and be a character. And I thought, my wrestling career ended in a very way. It did not end on a positive note. And I thought, this is my opportunity to get back into the wrestling business and do something that I know I'm really, really good at, and have an opportunity to work with a lot of amazing talent that I had never worked with before. So that if it lasted 6 months, if it lasted a year, if it lasted a year and a half, whatever it lasted, it was my opportunity to rewrite my professional wrestling story so that it ended on a positive note. And that's why it wasn't the money. I didn't need the money. But I needed, for my own peace of mind, to end my career on a positive note. And Vince was giving me that opportunity. So it was so easy for me. That phone call with Vince, it maybe lasted 10 minutes. It might have been 8. It was a very short conversation. And I went back into the house because my office was, I had a guest house on my property, and that's what I used as an office. And I went back into the house, and I told Lori, I said, my wife, Lori, I said, guess what? I'm back in the wrestling business.